Hey collectors and friends, welcome back to Ol'SargeCollects. My name is Danny, and this is episode 7 of the Diamond Star set. So last episode we showed card number 25, Walter Berger. We also showed card number 26, Pepper Martin. And we showed card number 27, Pie Trainer. And we finished up with card number 28, which was Al Lopez. And so we have a good lineup for you this week. And I'll go ahead and share the players, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the backs and the fielding tips that they have. I'll also share with you what I enjoy about each card. So the first player that we're going to talk about this week is Heine Manush. And Heine Manush is a Hall of Famer. And his full name is Henry Emmett Manush. He was born in 1901 in Tuscumbia, Georgia. His nickname Heine was due to his German ancestry. He made his major league debut in 1923 as an outfielder for the Detroit Tigers. And he had the 10th highest batting average in his rookie year. And by 1926, Manush had taken over from Ty Cobb as the Tigers' starting center fielder. Also in 1926, he had the best year of his career as he compiled a .378 batting average and thus took the batting crown. Also, by doing so, he denied Babe Ruth the Triple Crown that year. After another successful 1927 season, in 1928, Heine was traded to the St. Louis Browns. Continuing to be consistent, Heine finished third behind slugging behind Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. He also finished second in MVP voting behind Mickey Cochran. Let's see what else. In the 1930 season, Manush was a holdout, refusing to report unless his salary was increased. And so when he finally signed his contract, but he was also traded to the Washington Senators later that year as a result. So he and a couple of other players were holdouts, and they all got traded. In 1932, he had another stellar season and finished third in the American League MVP voting behind Jimmy Foxx and Lou Gehrig. And in 1933, he had a 33-game hitting streak and once again finished third in MVP voting. That year, the Senators won the pennant, only to lose to the New York Giants. In 1934, Heine was selected to play in the All-Star game, but after the All-Star game, he got in a prolonged hitting slump. And his hitting slump lasted for quite a while. He was traded to the Boston Red Sox in 1936, and his hitting slump continued throughout that season. He was traded to the Brooklyn Dodgers and then to the Pirates, all during the same slump. It was with the Pirates that he played his last game in 1939. So technically, he was in his hitting slump during this card, when this card was put out. Let's see here. So in total, Heine Manush accumulated over 2,500 hits and had a lifetime batting average of .330. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1964, and he died in 1971 at the age of 69. So, what I really like about this card, now there's two versions of this card, by the way. There's one version that has the W on his sleeve, and then there's another version that does not have the W on his sleeve. What I like especially about this card are the shadows. I don't know if you can tell, but there are shadows on his bat, and I really like the detail of the shadows on his bat. And then I also, on the back, they give fielding tips. The fielding tips for this one are, so the captain of the team must shout out the name of the player who's going to make a catch for, like a pop-up, infield pop-up or something like that. And I'm actually going to talk a little bit about that detail a little bit in the next card too, which is my theory on how the next player got his name. But anyway, so that's Heine Manush. That's card number 30. And this is, in case you didn't see, this is an SGC 6. So one of the top cards in my collection. I don't really have any cards above a 6. So the next player is also another Hall of Famer, and his full name is Hazen Shirley Cuyler. and he was born in 1898 in Harrisville, Michigan. He made his major league debut in 1921 as an outfielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He spent the first 2 years jumping from the minors to the Pirates, and while with the Nashville Vols, he was given his nickname. So a lot of people think his nickname is pronounced KIKI, but it is actually KIKI. And there are two versions on how he got his nickname. I happen to believe the first version, not the second version, although others believe that the second version is how he got his nickname. But I'll go ahead and tell you what both of those are. So the first version is that he had been known as Kai since in high school, and when a fly ball was hit his way, the shortstop would call out Kai, and this would be echoed by the second baseman, and then soon the fans would start chanting Kai Kai. So going back to that last card, the fielding tip that I mentioned, it was the duty of the team captain to call out the name of the person making the catch. And so in this case, I believe that probably stands true for why he got his nickname. They were calling out Kai. The other version, the second version is how he got Kai Kai, came from the player's stuttering problem and the way it sounded when Cuyler said his name. So the reason why I don't favor that option is because later on he was a coach, and if he had a really strong stuttering problem, he might not have been well received as a coach, and he might have been given more problems due to that fact as a coach. And so I just tend to believe the first version over the second one. Feel free to believe whatever you want. So in 1924 was his first full season in the majors. It was also a season in which he would hit for a .334 average. The 1925 season turned out to be a big season for KIKI, as he would hit for a .357 average, and during the 1925 World Series against the Washington Senators, he claimed fame for hitting the deciding run of Game 7 to win the series. In 1926, he was the league stolen base leader, and in 1927, after having multiple disputes with the manager, he was traded to the Chicago Cubs. Due to his high volume of stolen bases, KIKI had continuous injuries, but still was the stolen base leader in 1928, 1929, and 1930. He batted .360 in 1929 and was selected to play in the All-Star game in 1934. In 1935, he was a free agent and signed with the Reds. After having more injuries which affected his batting average, KIKI decided to retire from baseball in 1937. In 1938, he signed on to be a player manager for the Brooklyn Dodgers. He would go on to be a Major League Baseball manager for the next 12 years until his death in 1950. Cuyler batted over 310 seasons in his Major League career. His overall batting average was .321, and he accumulated 2,300 hits. He was a 4-time stolen base leader, an All-Star, and a World Series champion. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1968. And the feeling tip on the back of this card talks about backing up players when it comes to hits and when they go to field, you're supposed to back up the player. So in case the ball gets past them, you can stop it. And really, this card, I'm not like the biggest fan of this card. It still has the Art Deco design, and I do love that. But as far as details and character of this card, I'm not overly impressed with this card. I think they could have probably done something more. But this is an SGC 5, and this is card number 31, Cuyler. All right, the next player is Schoolboy Rowe, and this is card number 33. And his full name was Linwood Thomas Rowe. He was born in 1910 in Waco, Texas. He got his nickname Schoolboy while playing on the men's team at an age of 15 years old. Along with his minor league teammate Hank Greenberg, Schoolboy had his major league debut in 1933 as a pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. Rowe was a dominant pitcher throughout the 1934 season and helped the Tigers win the pennant that year, only to lose the World Series to the St. Louis Cardinals. He finished fourth in MVP voting. In 1935, Schoolboy was selected to the All-Star team. That year, he helped the Tigers win the pennant and the World Series. Not only was Schoolboy Rowe a good pitcher, but he was also a good hitter. He hit over .300 for his first 2 seasons in the majors. He continued his success in the 1936 season and again was selected to play in the All-Star game. He suffered multiple injuries in 1937 and 38, but in 1939 his injury started to improve, and by 1940 he was instrumental in leading the Tigers win the pennant once again. After the 1940 season, he was again plagued with arm injuries, and in 1942 Rowe was traded to the Dodgers, and in 1943 he was traded again to the Phillies. So Schoolboy missed the 1944 and 1945 season due to wartime service in the U.S. Navy. So thank you, Schoolboy, for your service. He played on the Navy baseball team, and in 1944 he played in the Army-Navy World Series in Hawaii. It was referred to as the real World Series on account of how many all-star major league players who were playing. In 1947, he was selected for the 3rd time to the All-Star team and also became the first and only major league pitcher in history to be intentionally walked twice in the same game. Remember, he was a good batter. Rowe was released from the Phillies in 1949 and would retire. He was a 3-time All-Star and a World Series champion, and he died at the age of 50 in 1961. So on the back of this card, the fielding tip talks about pitching to a target on the catcher's person rather than the glove. So, the back talks about focusing on the uniform or something like that. So what I like about this this card is the detail of the uniform, mostly. It does have some very vivid, bright colors in the background. I can't really make out what it is in the background, but I just like the details of his uniform, especially the wrinkles in the hat. This is an SGC 6. All right, and then the last player for today is going to be Stanley Hack. So this is card number 34, Stanley Hack. And Stanley's full name is Stanley Hack. And he's also known as Smiling Stan. He was always smiling, and I've seen other pictures of him where he was constantly smiling. He was born in 1909 in Sacramento, California. He made his major league debut in 1932 as a third baseman for the Chicago Cubs. His best season came in 1938 when he batted .320 for the season and led the National League in steals. He was also second in hits and runs and plays in his first All-Star game. He also was 7th in MVP voting that year and helped the Cubs clinch the pennant. He was later selected to play in the 1939, 1941, 1943, and 1945 All-Star games. In 1947, he retired from baseball. He played all 15 years with the Chicago Cubs, and his overall batting average was .301, and he accumulated a total of 2,193 hits. He was a 2-time National League stolen base leader and was elected to the Chicago Cubs Hall of Fame. After his career as a player, Stanley Hack managed various teams in the majors and minors until 1966. In 1979, at the age of 70, Smiling Stan died in Dixon, Illinois. This is, out of all 4 of these cards, this is my favorite card. I like his stance. What I especially like about it is that huge yellow cloud in the background with the Art Deco design buildings. And then I also like seeing his glove, that old-timey mitt. And so that's what I like about this card. And the back of this card, the fielding tip, talks about first baseman must learn to take throws on either side of the bag. And this is an SGC 5. All right, so that does it for today's video. And the next video I'll be coming out with, I've got an SGC order that's going to be returning tomorrow. I'll share that video with you. And also, I think I'm going to do another short video that kind of refers to a recent event that happened. So just throwing around some ideas here. Anyway, y'all have a great 4th of July weekend, and take care until next time. Bye.